You and I are going to talk today about skill, a fitness adaptation that has been recognized by Dr. Andy Galpin's team, and part of the series that I started discussing last week on the Fitness Fridays, talking about the 9 different fitness adaptations that you can develop. This one today is going to be about skill specifically. And there's about 3 ways that have really been recognized how to improve this. There's different variations. There's a lot of crossover between these 3 different things. But there's a lot of different ways of breaking these down into subcategories. But we're going to keep this very simple. We're going to keep this very high level, give you guys something to think about, ponder, and hopefully be able to use some in your building process of building actionable steps and how you improve skill. So the first one that Dr. Andy Galpin that we talked about last week was the skill category. And, obviously the first thing that people will go to is like professional athletes building these skills and things of that nature. We're going to talk about it a little differently here because I think there's a lot of reasons and a lot of variations of why you would work on skill and based upon some of these different factors here. So we'll go ahead and talk about these first. I think the first one we really need to talk about is hours. I think a lot of people have this concept. I mean, it's very popular. I think it's a good generalization, but I don't think it is the end all be all of the actually how this works. But you've probably heard that it takes 10,000 hours to master something. And while I think 10,000 hours is a good measurement of time for if you want to be a pro at anything or be reasonably good at anything, I think there's other factors that we can break into subcategories of this. So it's not just the simple number of hours. I think there's a lot of variables based on the effort and the time of at the time of training. So you can call that intentionality. You can call that making the most of your training time. Making sure that while you're there working on these things, that it's actually very intentional that you are doing better or going as hard as you can at that point in time to help develop these skills. Because if you're just willy-nilly showing up, what are the possibilities that you're really getting to that next level of progression that the guy that's training harder than you next to you is able to do? So I think there's more importantly than the number of hours is the intentionality of the hours that you do show up. I think there's other different subcategories we need to look at too here, like frequency of activity versus frequency of breaks. So am I doing it every day? Am I working on the skill set every day? Or am I only doing it once a week and I've got a frequency of 6 days worth of breaks in there before I pick this back up and try to get back into it again? So I think there's a lot of that as well. Frequency is going to be probably the most important thing of building any of these 9 fitness adaptations going forward. And we'll talk a lot more about that as we go forward. There's a very obvious one that I don't hear anyone talking about this, but obviously everyone recognizes it because I don't hear a lot of people talking about building the skill itself anyway as part of your fitness plan. But there's that natural ability to pick it up, the natural ability from going from 0 to 1 and the ability from going 1 to 100. Some people are slower to pick it up, but then progress rapidly after the fact. And some people are the exact opposite. I think one great example of this is Tom Brady. While we can recognize as far as championship rings are concerned, he's probably the GOAT of football. He's definitely the GOAT of quarterbacking in the National Football League. But he was never like the best, most athletic guy out there on the field. He didn't have the greatest ability compared to some of the other guys that had that natural ability, but the guy put in the time. And so that's going to touch on a lot of the other things that we're going to go over here, the other 2 subcategories of how you can build this skill adaptation. But that's just something to be considerate of. The next one I'm going to talk about, number 2, is instruction. So are you learning from someone with a wide knowledge base in the area of the skill that you are training? A really good example of this would be like a golf coach. Golf coaches, I think, because the skill level for golf is so high for the professionals. I'm not saying that it's not super high for basketball athletes and football athletes and things of that nature, but they've got a lot of other things going on for them. They've got height and muscle and strength training and all these other variables. I think when it comes to actual skill, maybe tennis might be right up there with golf, but there is very, very much a particular method to becoming a good golfer. So I think the best example of that is if you have a golf coach who's got a wide knowledge base in the area and has experience, that they can help you a lot. When we're talking about actual fitness, if you're thinking about being in the gym correctly, a personal trainer can also get these skill levels. But you need not just experience or a wide knowledge base, but you need someone who can identify the mechanics and adjust your actions that will actually improve your performance. So there's a lot of people who are great at doing something. There's probably an infinite number of golf coaches out there, or golf pros in the United States that run golf courses that might not necessarily be able to actually break down what you're doing mechanically and be able to fix your swing, may not be able to help you progress to the next level. So there are some people that are really good at something, and then there are those that are really good at teaching others to be great at something. So that was number 2, instruction. Number 3, I think, is just as important, and I've not seen really a whole lot of people. This is really my own thoughts on this part, and I'm waiting for someone just to put down in the comments below why you think I'm wrong on this, because I would love to have this debate and have this discourse. But I think it has a lot to do with your motivation, your drive. What's your why? So why are you doing this? Do you just want to be good at something to feel good and or accomplished? Is it something that you just want to be better in that area? Is it because you don't want to embarrass yourself? Is it because you want to impress somebody? Is it you competitively utilizing these skills, or are you just recreationally using them? So you're going to be competitive in this area, or is it something that you just want to be somewhat rather good at and not embarrass yourself when you go out? Is it to protect or prevent bodily harm, as in the way of martial arts or self-defense? Is it to sustain you and your family, like bow hunting, another very, very high level skill fitness adaptation? So bow hunting is very much skill. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had the opportunity. I recommend you guys do. There's something very primitive and primal and very satisfactory about bow hunting, even if you're just going out and hitting targets. But that is something that can also sustain you and your family. Do you want to be good at it because you want to get the meat in the freezer for the family? So some things like that to think about. Identifying and being honest with yourself about why you really want or need to develop these skills, I think, can help you take your motivations to the next level with wanting to put in the extra hours, wanting to get the right instruction, becoming addicted to something in a positive way, because it's good to replace bad addictions with very, very positive addictions. And I think, building your fitness adaptation in the arena of skill is very much a good way to, or a good addiction to replace some of the bad habits that a lot of people in our society, especially men, have these days. So in the future episodes, we'll be discussing the 8 other fitness adaptations that, once again, you can go back and you can look at some of the information that Dr. Andy Galpin, who not only is a professor of kinesiology, I think it's the University of California at Fullerton, but his team also trains professional athletes and other professional coaches. So you can go back and see some more of that stuff. Please like, subscribe, and put your comments down below, because I want to know what you guys are thinking. I want to know more about what you guys would like to see. So I'm your guy, Kenny B of E3, aka KNTX, professional investor, and the guide to helping you be the best version of yourself and the hero of your story. So appreciate you guys. Have a good one.